You are listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.
I'm Devorah Spilman, your host, and today I am delighted to welcome Dr. Steve G. Jones, who is a clinical hypnotherapist. And Steve, if you could tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and then what does soul-driven success mean to you?
Sure. Well, I'm a hypnotherapist, and thanks for having me on, by the way, Devorah. I really appreciate that. I started in the 1980s with hypnosis, and I'm still doing it today. I've produced over 9,000 hypnosis audios, written over 20 books on hypnosis, and I have helped a lot of people, and it's been my pleasure to do that. Soul-driven success for me is just following, at an individual level, it's following your desire to help people in a truly authentic way. And it's also getting into, when I work with clients, it's the getting into what they really want, that intrinsic motivation that they have that comes from within, as opposed to extrinsic motivation that comes from outside.
So tell us a little bit of your story. Like, how did you kind of come into doing what you do in the world, and where has it taken you?
Well, I have a very interesting story. I started in military school. My parents sent me to Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia. And a lot of parents threaten to send their kids to boarding school or military school, if they don't shape up. Well, I thought that was an empty threat, like every other kid who got threatened with that, except that I ended up in military school. So 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, there I am in military school, and I didn't like it. I wanted an escape. I found my escape in reading. So I started reading a book by a PhD psychologist named Leslie LeCron, and I started learning how to hypnotize. The book is called The Complete Guide to Hypnosis by Leslie LeCron. And I learned how to hypnotize. So I started having my roommates and my fellow military school cadets, as we were called, students, come into my room, lie down on my bunk bed, and get hypnotized. And soon the smart kids were coming to me, wanting to study more efficiently. The athletes were coming to me, wanting to exercise more efficiently. This was in the early 80s. Now, all these years later, I'm still doing the same thing, except now the smart kids are NASA and the athletes are the Dodgers.
Wow. Well, so just tell us a little bit more about what happened in school when they got wind of what you were up to.
Well, one of the teachers, who unfortunately is no longer around, we went by rank in the school because it was a military school. So his name was Major Wilson. He had the rank of major. His last name was Wilson. Great guy. He was my English teacher. And one day in English class, he made an announcement. He said, "What's going on in Mooney Barracks?" Those are the barracks I was assigned to. They're named after an Army general named General Mooney. So he said, "What's going on in Mooney Barracks? I hear they're doing everything short of leeching over there," or something like that. And he was referring to the fact that I had fellow students sometimes lined up outside my door to be hypnotized. So when the military school got word of it, they didn't crack down on me. They didn't come in and say, "Don't do that anymore." But the English teacher made an announcement in class that made it very clear that there was some level of concern.
And what happened?
Well, there were no sanctions against me or anything. There was no official action. They actually didn't interfere, nor did I stop, nor did I slow down. I kept on hypnotizing people.
Well, what do you think made it possible for you to do that? Like other people read hypnosis books and they can't do it.
Well, I don't know about can't. I mean, I believe they can. It's just, it's not for everyone. Like I could read a book on painting and not become a painter. I could read a book on car mechanics and not become a mechanic. Those things are just not my thing. But hypnosis is. So it's kind of what you gravitate toward. I believe that anyone can become a car mechanic. Anyone can become a painter. These are skills that can be taught. These are bodies of knowledge that can be learned. And just like hypnosis is actually easier than either of those. It's just the inclination to do that was was within my wheelhouse. It was something I wanted to do. I had lost my mom when I was 6. She died of leukemia. My dad was an alcoholic. I was sent to military school for being a bad kid. So I had some things I needed to work on. And so I think for me, foremost, it was a self-healing process. And I realized that those powers could be used for good to help other people as well.
So where do you think, like if you were to go all the way to the other end now, what is your kind of most visionary thinking about what you do?
Visionary in terms of the future?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been approached by several TV shows. Of course, I've been on The Millionaire Matchmaker as a millionaire hypnotherapist and Bravo's Below Deck as a millionaire hypnotherapist. But I'd like to see a television show produced about hypnosis, not funny stuff. I mean, I've been on TV shows where they, use hypnosis in a funny way also. Or I was on a show called Door to the Dead where they wanted me to hypnotize some lady who was being haunted, or so she thought. So I've seen it used in ways that are interesting for TV, but I'd like to see it used on a TV show where it's just pure helping people. Therapy. You've got an issue, weight loss, stopping smoking, and we're just showing the power of hypnosis in a very mainstream, very beneficial way.
What have you discovered along your way that has kind of inspired you? And you're on this summit called Soul-Driven Success, and I think in some ways part of the problem people have with anything that's quote unquote soul-driven or inner-driven is they don't have access. Like they don't know how to get access to that inner realm, and so I know hypnotherapy is partly does that. And I'd like you to talk about kind of the hypnotherapy side, but then also the lay side, like the things that people can do themselves.
Yeah, well, hypnosis is just a relaxed state of mind in which you're more suggestible. So one of the things the main thing that we take advantage of in a hypnosis session is the fact that we do become programmable when our brains slow down to what we call alpha. Beta is normal awakening consciousness, where we are right now. We're fully alert, engaged in an interesting conversation. But if we were in some kind of boring lecture or even doing something that we do by rote, like vacuuming or doing some kind of housework or something that we know how to do and is kind of routine, we would go down into alpha. So the hypnotherapist is using that natural ability we have to go into that state to put positive suggestions in our mind. Unfortunately, advertisers do the same thing. When you watch TV late at night, they're telling you what kind of car to drive, what kind of clothes to wear, where you should go on vacation, what you should like, what you shouldn't like. They're constantly programming you so that they can get money from you. The thing that we can do on our own is to, first of all, realize when we're being programmed and maybe limit that late night TV. Maybe be careful who we associate with and what kinds of things they talk about. Because if we hang out with people who are talking negatively about their possibilities, well, it's the same thing as watching those commercials. We get programmed with that. That gets inside our minds. So we want to limit the exposure that we have to negative speaking people, negative messages, and so forth, and counter it even further by talking positively to ourselves. People make fun of that because of Saturday Night Live making fun of it with their character looking in the mirror saying, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. But it's actually true that if you do talk positively to yourself, your subconscious mind is going to believe that, because the subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to say, oh, that's true, that's false, that's right, that's wrong. It just takes in information. So if you start talking positively to yourself, even if it feels like you're lying to yourself, even if you're saying, I'm a wealthy person, I'm a positive person, I'm a motivated person, eventually that becomes true for you. So that positive self-talk is something that each of us can do every day.
So a lot of people talk about that. In mindset and, and affirmations and all kinds of things. But there's also a lot of back and forth about when it works and why it doesn't work. So maybe you can weigh in on that a little bit.
Well, we get into My doctorate is in education, by the way, so I'm very well versed in research, and I can tell you that based on your question, you're talking about a lot of different factors, and we do get into the multifactorial aspect of research when we talk about that. So we take person A and we take person B, and we put them into the exact same programming, and it works for person A, but not for person B. Now, we're wondering, why is that? Is that the essence of your question?
Well, yes, and because in sort of the modern culture and the kind of pop psychology culture and just the sort of the self-help world, there is a lot of talk about say affirmations and saying positive things to yourself, and at the same time, there are a lot of people who get annoyed about it and say, it's what good is it going to do me to just say a lot of positive things to myself? So I would just like to hear what you feel from your perspective really helps somebody to take on that practice that you just said about speaking positively to yourself in a way that's really effective.
Okay, so you're not talking about two people being exposed to the same thing and having different results. You're talking about one person being exposed to it because they want to, the other person saying, no thanks, I don't even want to be exposed to it. So if they don't even get on that train, then they're not going to get the benefits. So I would say to that person who's thinking, well, I don't know if this self-help stuff will work for me and these positive affirmations will work for me, I would say that their objection is representative of the symptoms of their challenge in the first place. So the fact that they're even saying that shows that they're just not in that mindset. It's sort of one of those things where you have to do it in order to see if it works for you. If I'm just going to look at something and say, oh, that's not going to work, I'm not even going to attempt it. Well, if it's something as simple and as good as talking positively about myself, then why would I not do it? It's not going to take up any extra time in my day. I can do it while I'm driving to work or doing something else. It's not difficult to say things like that, like I feel good, I feel positive, I'm motivated. So why, I would say to that person, why wouldn't you do it?
Great answer. So let's take it another step farther, because I know that the free gift that you're offering is about building confidence, and we talked a little bit about doing like something that will help maybe take it to that next level of feeling confident. And I love that that's what you're offering, because I think that is sometimes the underpinning that leads us to not talking positively about ourselves. We bump into, kind of what seems like to be an epidemic of not good enough in the culture. And I'm sure you run into it all the time. So tell us a little bit about that process of building confidence. And I know you said you had like a little process you could take us through.
Yeah, something I borrowed from the world of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which was invented by Richard Bandler and John Grinder in the 1970s, and then it became more popular in the 80s, and it's very popular now. Something called anchoring I'd like to share. It's a quick and easy process that anyone can do, and they can do it right now as long as they're not driving a vehicle or anything. But the idea is to help us become more confident, and so to boost our confidence, because especially when we talk about the type of person you're talking about previously who didn't even want to attempt using positive affirmations, some people like that, and just people in general, can really use this to start that ball rolling so they can feel more confident. So that's what I'd like to share with everyone today, something called anchoring from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, also called NLP, that's quick and easy to do.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Clear for takeoff. Let's make this happen. So again, if you're not operating a motor vehicle or doing anything else, if you're just able to listen to the words that I'm saying right now, then you can go ahead and do this. Otherwise, just do it later. But what I'd like you to do, if you're able to, is close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you want to, you can close your eyes and think about a time that you felt very confident. Now, when I say confidence, I'm not talking about where you thought that you were the coolest person on the earth, or you were able to conquer a lot of people or anything like that. I'm just talking about that idea that you get that you feel good about yourself. Everything is okay. You feel good about yourself, your life, people around you. You don't feel threatened. You just feel good about yourself. So that can be a time, maybe you help someone walk across the street. Maybe it was a time when you graduated from kindergarten. Maybe it was a time when you graduated with your PhD. Maybe it was just, yesterday when you woke up feeling good about yourself. So just think about a time right now when you felt confident in that way, where everything's fine and you're fine too. And what I'd like you to do is crank it up. I want you to crank everything up to a level 10. So crank up the sights, the sounds, the smells, if there are any associated with that memory, the tastes, if you happen to be eating anything during that time. Crank up the feeling of what you're wearing. How does the temperature feel in the room? Or if you're outside, how does it feel? Is there a breeze on you? Is the sun shining on you? So crank up everything that you can feel from that memory now to a level 10. In other words, you can see everything very clearly. You can hear everything in that memory very clearly. You can taste, if there's something to taste, you can taste that very clearly. If there's something to smell, you can smell that very plainly. You can smell it very clearly. And you can feel how your body feels. If you're moving, you can feel your muscles moving. Whatever clothes you're wearing, you can feel them on your body. Really crank that up. Now, most importantly, I want you to crank up that feeling of confidence. Now, remember, this is not something where you feel like you're going to conquer the entire world. This is just that feeling that everything's okay, that feeling that you're good enough, and that life is going to be okay, and that you are calm, and that whatever comes your way, you're calm enough to handle it. So crank up that feeling now, that just good feeling. That's right, crank it up to a level 10. So everything's up to a level 10, sight, sound, feeling, everything. Now what I'd like you to do is make the OK sign with your right hand, touching the tip of your right index finger to the tip of your right thumb, and say or think the word confident right now. There you go. So you're making the OK sign, saying or thinking the word confident. And now you're letting that go and continuing to relax. Now, what we've done, and that's the end of the procedure, what we've done is we've installed an anchor for you. So the next time you need to feel confident, all you need to do is make the OK sign with your right hand and say or think that word confident. And those ideas, those memories of when you felt good about yourself will come back to you. Now, if you did that and you weren't able to think about a time where you really felt confident, or you think, oh, I could do it better, or I could think of a different time when I felt more confident, do it again. Do it later and do it again, and you can even do it more slowly and thoroughly, and you will have installed an anchor so that you can use that. Now, the way you use this is next time you're in a situation where you need that confidence, you make the OK sign, say or think the word confident, and immediately you've created a bridge between where you are in that current moment and that time.
You are listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.
This helps people in a moment where things feel like they're scary or difficult, and they just literally make the OK sign, and then it allows them to connect to the feelings in the other situation, which allows them to bring them into the present moment.
Yes, that's the idea. And it's actually based on sound research. It's based on the research that Ivan Pavlov did long ago. Ivan Pavlov was the Russian scientist whose parents wanted him to be a priest. They wanted him to go into religion, but he decided not to. And thank goodness for us, because he discovered a lot of interesting things about how you can make connections in your mind and how you can install them at a very basic physiological level. So yes, that's what it's designed to do. And we do have a a very robust body of knowledge backing that up.
So, what would you say is like another really, like a good habit that you would encourage people to develop? So we have, because I think that some of what you're telling me is great in that way. So one is speaking positively to yourself, and now you've given them this very cool tool to develop. And maybe you have one or two other things that really think if a person would incorporate them in their day, it would really help them to tap into their best selves, that soul-driven place.
Yeah, one thing that's become very popular now is keeping what we call a gratitude journal. Writing down at the end of the day things that you're thankful for. And what that does is it allows you to focus on that positive stuff that we're talking about rather than all the negative stuff. So when you sit down and you purposely write down what you're thankful for, it makes you realize that good things are happening to you all the time, that every day something good is happening to you. And it also sets you up to start looking for those things in the moment. When you realize, oh, I'm going to write my gratitude journal tonight, and something happens to you during the day, you realize, aha, something good and positive did happen to me. It may sound simplistic and it may sound silly, but there's a large, robust body of knowledge backing this up, that what we focus on tends to expand in our lives. And we talk about that a lot with, like, my friend Dr. Joe Vitale, who is in the movie The Secret, talks about that a lot. When Joe and I create programs to help people, we discuss that a lot. And a lot of people don't realize it's actually backed by a lot of very sound university-run research that shows that this actually helps you expand the positive things in your life and move away from the negative things.
So do you think that if somebody takes on some of these practices, that they'll be able to see and feel those shifts happening in their life? Like, what do you tend to see happen as people start to take these on?
Well, I start to see people changing their lives in a number of ways, and usually very unexpected ways. And it's interesting how when you open up one thing that's kind of bottlenecked your life, like for some people it's weight loss, for some people it's financial gain, for some people it's stopping smoking, whatever it may be for the individual. When you remove that bottleneck or that roadblock that you thought was so insurmountable that you would never get over it, a lot of things open up, because you start to realize, wow, I have a lot of personal power. I have a lot of ability that I didn't realize before. I have the ability to change a lot of things in my life that I thought I was simply a victim of. So I see people's lives improving in all kinds of unexpected positive ways.
So for you, what do you have a sense of, I know you talked about the TV show, but in terms of the deeper visions of your work, do you have something that's really interesting you and kind of pulling you forward today, like what you see in the world and what you're thinking about or working on? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking you, because soul-driven success to me, I think, is this push forward for us in so many domains to drive our impetus from a different place, right? Because in schools, it's like, did you get a good mark on the test? Or did you get approval from a parent? This outer sense of what drives me, as opposed to what I think we're talking about here is soul-driven or inner-driven, more authentic-driven. And so I'm interested in what you're seeing in the larger world in terms of moving in this direction.
Well, I'm really encouraged because I've been seeing a lot more of what I would call soul-driven success and soul-driven interest probably in the last 8 years or so. I've really noticed it ramping up. I've been associating with a lot of people who, a lot of my friends get together in different parts of the world, and we meet and we talk about how we can improve our lives and the lives of others. Before that, I wasn't seeing much of that. I mean, when I think back on my early career in the 80s and the 90s, I wasn't really seeing that. I was seeing focus on money. I was seeing a focus on accolades that are of an exterior, come from the outside. I myself going after academic training, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, studying at Harvard, eventually getting my doctorate, all those types of things. I am seeing more of people realizing those things are nice, but what really matters is what's inside the individual. So I am seeing more of a focus on that.
I think that's encouraging for a lot of us, actually.
Yeah.
And encouraging, I hope, for the next generation. I don't know if you have any chance to speak to younger people and to have a sense of whether we're beginning to translate this down to the next generation.
Oh, definitely. Because of the nature of my business being internet-based and being digital, I have to deal with young people because they're the only ones who understand it. So, we can hire people, but once they, get to a certain point in their lives, they're just out of touch with it. So we have to keep hiring 20-somethings to do it. So I am, by the nature of my business, in touch with a lot of younger folks who I get to see with their new thoughts and new ideas. And I am seeing a lot of that. I am seeing that the younger generation is consistently more spiritually open-minded than the previous generation. There is a strong trend in that direction.
That's cool. I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Just because I think that it's very inspiring to see that an opening for people to listen to that more authentic spiritual voice, that inner voice. And so one last question about story. Where does telling your story, connecting to your story, fit into the work that you do?
Well, my story, I believe, to be the typical hero's journey. I was a kid who wasn't really into much. I was in baseball. When I played t-ball, it's where they put the ball on a pipe, basically, and you hit it off. I wasn't even good at that. I wasn't even good at hitting the ball. And when I played when we switched, when I wasn't on offense, when I was on defense, I was, in the outfield where no little kid ever hit the ball. So I was not exactly the most valuable player on my team. At some point, I changed that. I started getting more proactive in my life and more involved. And that point happened when I discovered hypnosis. When I discovered hypnosis, I became more involved in life. I became more involved in developing myself. I became more involved in the idea that I could help others also. So my life story has really paralleled that hero's journey, that typical hero's journey, where you kind of go from not very well developed into being much more of yourself, much more of your authentic self. And so I've really taken that into my work because I feel that the journey that we all must go through is the same thing. The journey that we have to go through is from being not our fully developed authentic selves to being as fully developed as possible, and then understanding the responsibility to help others develop that within themselves.
I love that. I think that's what drives so many of us, is that mission to find that in ourselves and to bring that out into the world. So tell us, Steve, Dr. Steve, a little bit about what is the free gift that you have and how it will help people take another step forward.
Sure. Well, I have my Unlimited Confidence Platinum level hypnosis session. And sounds complicated, but all it is an hour-long hypnosis session that's recorded. You listen to it at night as you go to sleep. And if you go to sleep, that's fine, because you're drifting into a deeper state of hypnosis. There's no difference in the sleep scale and the hypnosis scale. So if you fall further asleep, you're actually falling deeper into hypnosis. So listen to it, let it put you to sleep. You'll probably only hear the first few minutes of it, even though it's an hour. You'll probably be unconscious for most of it. That's fine, because your ears still take in the information. Your eyes close, but your ears don't. They stay open. They monitor your environment. They're also able to record information as you sleep. So listen to it for 21 nights in a row. If you miss a few nights, that's fine. And let it slowly change you into a more confident person. Let it pull out your authentic, confident, powerful self.
Wonderful. Love that. It's always like, I'm just put my homework under my pillow and I'll learn it. So
yeah, it's kind of like, well, Edgar Cayce used to think that. He used to think you could sleep on a book and take in the information. I think he was the one who said that. I don't think that happens, but we do have a tremendous amount of scientific backing for what I just said about the words going into your subconscious mind through audio.
No, for sure. I agree. It's just kind of a delightful
Yeah.
way of learning something.
It's interesting that it can be that easy.
We're so almost addicted to things. The only things that are valuable are the things that are hard.
Right. Yeah, we like to work hard and struggle and so forth. Yeah, I think the Beatles said the best things in life are free, and this is free, and it's simple and easy, so why not?
Exactly. Well, before we wrap up, maybe can you leave us with just a few last words of inspiration?
Yeah, sure. Well, I like to share with people the words of the musical group America, who were talking about the Wizard of Oz when they said, Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And so what I take away from that is we already have the power, the beauty, the knowledge, the ability. We already have all that within us. We just need sometimes to be reminded of how powerful, wonderful, and beautiful we are. That's where hypnosis comes in. It's nothing more than a reminder of what you already have.
Wonderful. I love that. And I think that in and of itself is a tremendous comfort to people, that it's already in you, and now you have a new tool to access it, to be reminded and to let that come out. So, Dr. Steve, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Devorah. My pleasure.
And everybody, I hope that you will get Dr. Steve's recording and listen to it and find that confidence in yourself and know that what you can do could actually be easy and that you'll be able to create your own.
You are listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.